A Christmas Carol, a ghost story of Christmas by Charles Dickens, adapted for radio by Matt Boyle. Marley was dead, to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole residuary legatee, his sole friend, and his sole mourner. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story that I am about to relate. Scrooge was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone. He was a squeezing, retching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. He carried his own low temperature always about with him. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon the clerk, Bob Cratchit, who, in a dismal little cell beyond, was copying letters. Scrooge had a very small fire, but the clerk's fire was so very much smaller that it looked like one coal. But he couldn't replenish it, for Scrooge kept the coal box in his own room, and so surely as the clerk came in with his shovel, the master predicted that it would be necessary for them to part.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Ah, humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Surely you can't mean that.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come on, then. What right do you have to be dismal? What right do you have to be morose? You're rich enough.
Bah! Humbug!
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be, when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas! What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should.
Uncle!
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me in mine.
You keep it, but you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone, then. Much good may it be to you. Much good has it ever done you.
There are many things from which I might have derived good, but which I have not profited. I dare say, Christmas among the rest. But I am sure I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem by one consent to open their shut-up hearts freely and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave and not just another race of creatures bound on their other journeys. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe that it has done me good, and I will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
Hear, hear, Master Fred. Well said.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
Dine with us?
Yes, with us, my wife Helen and I, tonight for Christmas.
Why did you get married? To become poor and poorer still?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Bah! Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle, But you never came to see me before that happened. Why give it a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry with all my heart. I find you so resolute. We've never had any quarrel to which I have been a party. I'll pledge to keep my Christmas spirit to the last. So a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon, nephew.
And a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon.
A very Merry Christmas to you and yours, Bob.
And the same to you, Mr. Fred. And Happy New Year as well.
Mind your merry wishing, Cratchit. You with 15 shillings a week and a wife and a family talking about a Merry Christmas. Cratchit, close that door and shoo away those beggar boys seeking reward for their infernal caterwauling.
I'm sorry, sir. There are two people to see you, Mr. Scrooge.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his generous spirit is well represented by his surviving partner.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than unusually desirable that we should make some slight provisions for the poor and the destitute who suffer greatly at this present time. Many thousand are in want of common necessities. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comfort, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Oh, plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are. I wish I could say they're not.
The treadmill and the poor law are still in full vigor then?
Oh, both are very busy, sir. A few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because of its time, of all others when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous?
I wish to be left alone. Since you asked me what I wish, people, then I will answer you. I do not make merry myself at Christmas, and I cannot afford to make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments that I have mentioned. They cost enough. And those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
If they would rather die, then they better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day.
Mr. Scrooge?
It is closing time. You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose.
If quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to dock you half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, and I'll be bound. And yet, you don't think me ill-used when I pay you a day's wages for no work.
Christmas comes just once every year, Mr. Scrooge.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier the next morning.
Thank you, Mr. Scrooge. Thank you, and a good day to you.
Scrooge took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers, and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, and went home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. Scrooge had not bestowed one thought on Marley since his last mention of his 7 years dead partner that afternoon. And then, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the door knocker not a knocker, but Marley's face.
Jacob? Jacob! It can't be.
As Scrooge looked fixedly at this phenomenon, it was a knocker again.
Oh, pooh-pooh. Bit of gruel and a good sleep will put all these visions to rest.
Quite satisfied, he closed his door and locked himself in, double locked himself in, which was not his custom.
Humbug!
As he threw his head back in the chair, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room. He saw this bell begin to swing. It swung so softly in the outset that it scarcely made a sound, but soon it rang out loudly, and so did every bell in the house.
What? What? Oh. Oh. Oh, it's a humbug still. I won't believe it.
Scrooge then remembered to have heard that ghosts in haunted houses were described as dragging chains. His color changed, though, when without a pause, the spirit came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his eyes.
How now? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Well, who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me.
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because of little things affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You might be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more of grave than of grave of you, whatever you are.
Ah! Ah!
Mercy! Oh, dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why do spirits walk the earth, and why do they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him must walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world. Ah! Woe is me, and witness that which I cannot share, but might have shared on earth and turned to happiness. Ah! I wear the chains I forged in life. I made it link by link by link, and yard by yard, and girded it on of my own free will. Would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was as heavy as this, and as long as this, 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. It is a ponderous chain.
Jacob, oh Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me.
I have
Jacob?
none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. Weary journeys lie before me.
Oh, but you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business! 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 Mankind was my business.
Oh dear.
Common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. Oh, at this time of year I suffer most. Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down and never raise them to that blessed star which had the wise men to a poor abode? Hear me! My time is nearly gone.
I will. Pray don't be hard upon me.
How is it that I appear before you in a shape that you can see? I may not tell. I have sat invisible beside you many and many a day at the counting house. I'm here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate.
You were always a good friend to me. Thank you.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Jacob?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visit, you cannot hope to avoid the path I tread.
Oh dear.
First tomorrow, when the bell tolled 1.
Couldn't I just take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Ah! Expect the 2nd on the next night at the same hour, the 3rd upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more.
The apparition walked backward from him. Marley's ghost floated out upon the bleak, dark night. The air was filled with phantoms, wandering hither and thither in restless haste and moaning as they went. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost.
Bah! A bit of undigested beef, surely. A dream. Humbug. To bed. To sleep.
When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark. He was endeavoring to pierce the darkness with his ferret eyes when the chimes of a neighboring church struck the 4 quarters. So he listened for the hour. Scrooge lay in this state until the chimes had gone 3 quarters more, when he remembered on a sudden that the ghost had warned him of a visitation when the bell tolled 1. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past.
Oh. The hour itself. And nothing else.
He spoke before the hour bell sounded, which it now did with a deep, dull, hollow, melancholy 1. Light flashed up in the room upon the instant, and the curtain of his bed were drawn aside by a hand. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man. It wore a tunic of the purest white, and round its waist was bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. It held a branch of fresh green holly in its hand.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Oh, who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What business brings you here?
Your welfare.
I thank you, kind spirit, but I think a night of unbroken rest would be more conducive to my present welfare.
Your redemption, then. Take heed, rise, and walk with me.
The spirit made towards the window.
I am a mortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. Not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with snow upon the ground.
Good heaven! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
You recollect the way.
Remember it? I would walk it blindfold.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on.
Oh, look there. It's Reggie Dwight. Hello, Reg. And Tommy Townsend, and John Richards, and Sam Baker.
These are but shadows of things that have been. They have no consciousness of us.
Oh,
Here is the schoolhouse. It is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know. Poor boy. I wish, but it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There were boys singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should have given them a little something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas. The same schoolhouse, the same boy, but here enters a young girl.
Ebenezer, my dear, dear brother.
Fanny, but why are you here?
To bring you home, of course.
Home, Fanny? Oh, little Fan.
Always a delicate creature, whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You are right, Spirit.
She died a woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True, your nephew.
Yes, Fred.
Another Christmas. Do you know this place?
Know it? I apprenticed here. Why, it's old Fezziwig, bless his heart. It's Fezziwig alive again.
Yo there, Ebenezer, Dick.
Oh, Dick Wilkins, to be sure. Bless me, yes, there he is. He was very much attached to me.
Oh, yo ho ho, my boys. No work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick, Christmas. Ebenezer. Let's have the shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
No, it isn't that. It isn't that, Spirit. He has the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, a pleasure or a toil. The happiness he gives is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Oh, nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No, I should be like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit, just now. That's all.
My time grows short. Quick. Another Christmas. Do you remember this fair young lady?
Oh, Belle?
And her tears.
Oh, Belle.
Belle?
Another idol has displaced me.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master possession, gain, engrosses you. And if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I am not changed toward you. Am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor and content to be so, until, in good season, we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy. Have I sought release?
In words, no, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love any worth or value in your sight. If this had never been between us, tell me, would you seek me out and try to win me, a dowerless girl now? May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you delight to torture me?
I told you these were shadows of things that have been. that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
Remove me. I cannot bear it. Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer. No, spirit, leave me.
Scrooge struggled with the spirit, and then found the spirit no more, and only found himself struggling with his own bed sheets.
Oh, it was a dream. Just a bad dream in a series of bad dreams.
Now, being prepared for almost anything, Scrooge was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when the bell struck 1 and no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. All this time, he lay upon his bed, the very core and center of a blaze of ruddy light, which streamed upon it when the clock proclaimed the hour. He began to think of the source, and the secret of this ghostly light might be in the adjoining room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. The moment Scrooge's hand was on the lock, a strange voice called him by his name and bade him enter.
Ebenezer! Ebenezer Scrooge! Come in and know me better, man.
Scrooge obeyed. It was his own room. There was no doubt about that. But it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove of holly, mistletoe, and ivy. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, brawn, great joints of meats, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausage, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, cherry-cheeked apples, juicy oranges, luscious pears, immense 12th cakes, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In easy state upon this couch, there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch.
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me.
The ghost was clothed in one simple green robe bordered with white fur. This garment hung so loosely upon the figure that its captious breast was bare. On its dark brown curled head, it wore no other covering than a holly wreath. Its genial face, its sparkling eye, its open hand, its cheery voice, its unconstrained demeanor, and its joyful air filled the room.
You have never seen the likes of me before.
Never? Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
My robe.
All vanished, and suddenly they stood in the city streets on Christmas morning.
Do you know who dwells in these walls? Peer in and see your faithful clerk's family at home.
What has ever got your precious father then? And your brother, Tiny Tim?
Peter, Belinda, helped him get ready for supper. Wife of mine.
Husband of mine. Children, hurry, let's finish readying the feast. And how did little Tim behave?
As good as gold and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful, sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Tim, sit next to me. I give this proposition to one and all. Did you ever see such a roast goose? There was never such a goose as this. So say I, Mrs. Cratchit.
As the cook, I will not argue the point.
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. And God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
Oh, I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, no, oh no, kind spirit. Say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none of my race will find him here. What then? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Mr. Scrooge, I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of our feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon.
My dear, the children. Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day. I am sure on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink to his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
It was a great surprise to Scrooge to suddenly hear a hearty laugh. It was a much greater surprise to Scrooge to recognize it as his own nephew Fred's laugh, and to find himself in a bright, dry, gleaming room with the spirit standing smiling by his side, and looking at that same nephew and his wife, Helen and their company of friends gathered for the holidays with approving affability.
Helen, he said that Christmas was humbug. As I live, he believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
He's a comical old fellow. That's the truth. And he's not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses do carry their own punishment. And I have nothing to say against him.
I have no patience with him.
Oh, I have. I am sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself only.
Enough talk of Uncle Scrooge for now. Let's play another game.
Yes. Oh, I greatly enjoyed Blind Man's Bluff and would play it again for sure.
You near fell in the fireplace chasing after Celia. No, you've had too much wine for that one.
How about a word game, then? The wine will help all of us with our words.
True. Words they intend and those they don't intend to. That will be a great entertainment.
Oh, how about how, when, and where?
There might have been 20 people there, young and old, but they all played, and so did Scrooge, for wholly forgetting that his voice made no sound in their ears, he sometimes came out with his guess quite loud, and very often guessed quite right too. The ghost was greatly pleased to find him in this mood, and looked upon him with such favor that he begged like a boy to be allowed to stay until the guests departed. But this spirit said could not be done.
Oh, but here's a new game. 1/2 hour spirit, only one.
Should we play now?
We'll play yes and no.
How's that one played?
I will think of something, and all of you must question and then guess what I'm thinking of. But only yes and no questions.
Oh, please, Spirit, this game sounds delightful, please.
The brisk fire of questioning to which Fred was exposed elicited from him that he was thinking of an animal, a live animal, rather a disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted sometimes, and talked sometimes, and lived in London, and walked about the streets, and wasn't made a show of, and wasn't led by anybody, and didn't live in a menagerie, and was never killed in a market, and was not a horse, or an ass, or a cow, or a bull, or a tiger, or a dog, or a pig, or a cat, or a bear. At every fresh question that was put to him, this nephew burst into a fresh roar of laughter.
I found it out. I know what it is, Fred. I know what it is.
What is it?
It's your Uncle Scrooge.
Yes, dear, old Uncle Ebenezer has given us plenty of merriment, and I am sure it would be ungrateful not to drink to his health. Here's a glass of mulled wine, ready to our hand at the moment. And I say, Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
A Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the old man. Whatever he is, he wouldn't take it from me. But may we have it, nevertheless, Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge had imperceptibly become so gay and light of heart that he would have pledged the unconscious company in return and thanked them in an unaudible speech if the ghost had given him time. But the whole scene passed off in a breath of the last words spoken by his nephew, and he and the spirit were again upon their travels. Much they saw, and far they went, and many homes they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirit stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. On foreign lands, they were close at home by struggling men, and they were patient in their greater hope by poverty, and it was rich. An almshouse, hospital, and jail, in misery's every refuge, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out. He left his blessing and taught Scrooge his twin lessons of joy and hope.
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark, the time is drawing near.
Forgive me if I am not justified in what I ask, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding from your skirts. It is a foot, or is it a claw?
The foldings of his robe, the ghost of Christmas present brought forth two children, wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at his feet and clung upon the outside of his garment.
Oh man, look here. Look, down here.
There were a boy and girl, yellow, meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish.
Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's, and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers. This boy is ignorance. This girl is want. Beware them both, and all of their degree. But beware the boy, for on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless its writing is erased. Deny it. Slander those who tell ye yea, and bide the end.
Have they no refuge, no resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost and saw it not. As the last stroke ceased to vibrate, he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground towards him. The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the very air through which this spirit moved, it seemed to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in a deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of it visible, save one outstretched hand.
I am in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come?
The spirit answered not, but pointed onward with his hand.
You are about to show me shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen if the time before us Is that right, Spirit? Ghost of the future. I feel you more than any specter I have seen. But as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear your company, and to do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me?
It gave no reply. The hand was pointed straight before them.
Lead on. Lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time to me, I know. Lead on, Spirit.
The phantom moved away as it had come towards him. Scrooge followed in the shadow of its dress, which bore him up, he thought, and carried him along. They scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city rather seemed to spring up upon them. The spirit stopped beside one little knot of businessmen. Observing that the hand was pointed to them, Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk.
No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
When did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
Oh, God knows.
What has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. Hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. Likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I don't know of anyone to go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
I don't mind going if a lunch is provided. But I must be fed if I make that one.
They left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of town where Scrooge had never penetrated before. Although he recognized its situation and its bad repute, alleys and archways, like so many cesspools, disgorged their fences of smell and dirt and life upon the straggling streets, and the whole quarter reeked with crime, for filth and misery. Scrooge and the Phantom came into a rag and bottle shop, just as a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the same shop. The shop owner listened as the charwoman spoke.
I have cleaned his house all these many years, unnoticed and unthanked.
Now, what have we got here?
Very well, then. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, a wicked old screw, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying, gasping out his last there, alone by himself.
It's the truest word that ever spoke. It's a judgment on him.
Open that bundle, old Joe, and let me know the value of it. Open that bundle, Joe.
Her plunder was not extensive. A seal or two, a pencil case, a pair of sleeve buttons, and a brooch of no great value were all. They were similarly examined and appraised by old Joe, who chalked the sum he was disposed to give for each upon the wall and added them up with a total.
At your account? And I wouldn't give another 6p if I was to be Boyle for not doing it. Anything else?
Undo this bundle.
Ooh, what do you call this? Bed curtains?
Ah, bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, with him lying there?
Yes, I do. Why not? He shan't need them where he's going.
Oh, you were born to make your fortune, and you'll certainly do it.
Scrooge listened to this dialogue in horror. As they sat grouped about their spoil, Scrooge viewed them with a disdain and disgust.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man might be of my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what is this?
Scrooge recoiled in terror, for the scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bed, a bare, uncurtained bed, on which, beneath a ragged sheet, there lay something covered up. The room was very dark, too dark to be observed with any accuracy. A pale light, rising in the outer air, fell straight upon the bed, and on it, plundered and bereft, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this man. He lay in the dark, empty house, with not a man, a woman, or a child to say that he was kind. A cat was tearing at the door, and there was a sound of gnawing rats beneath the hearthstones. What they wanted in the room of death, and why they were so restless and disturbed, Scrooge did dare not to think.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. Let me see some tenderness connected with this death, or this darker chamber. Spirit!
The ghost conducted him through several streets familiar to his feet, and as they went along, Scrooge looked here and there to find himself, but nowhere was he to be seen. They entered poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and found the mother and the child seated round the fire, quiet, very quiet. The noisy little Cratchits were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before them. The mother and her daughters were engaged in sewing. And he took a child and set him in the midst of them.
I won't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home. Not for the world. It must be near his time.
Pass it rather, but I think he has walked a little slower than he used these last few evenings, Mother.
I have known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder very fast indeed.
So have I often.
He was very light to carry, and your father loved him so that it was no trouble, no trouble. And there is your father at the door.
Hi, Daddy.
Hello,
Bob.
Father.
Bob, sit, here's your tea. Sit by the fire.
You warm my heart, dearest, more than any fire.
Sunday. You went today, then, Robert?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child. I'm sorry, children.
Oh, dear Bob, dear sweet Bob.
Extraordinary. I saw Mr. Fred, Mr. Scrooge's nephew, on my way home today. He asked why I looked troubled, on which, for he is the pleasantest spoken gentleman you ever heard, I told him, "I am heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit," he said, "and heartily sorry for your good wife." By the by, how he ever knew that, I don't know.
Knew what, my dear?
Why, that you were a good wife.
Everybody knows that.
Very well observed, my boy. I hope they do. Heartily sorry, he said, for your good wife. If I can be of any service to you in any way, he said. Why, it really seemed as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us. I'm sure we shall none of us forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we, on this first parting that there was among us?
No, never, Father.
I know, my dears, that when we recollect how patient and how mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves and forget Tiny Tim in doing it. I am very happy, very happy.
Something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. Tell me what man that was whom we saw dead.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come conveyed him, as before, to a churchyard. spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. He advanced towards it, trembling. The phantom was exactly as it had been, but he dreaded that he saw new meaning in its solemn shape.
Before I draw near to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that may be only?
Still the ghost pointed downward to the grave by which it stood.
Men's causes will foreshadow certain ends to which, if persevered in, they must lead. But if the causes be departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus, and with what you show me.
The spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went, and following the finger, read upon the stone of the neglected grave his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Am I that man who lay upon the bed? No, spirit. Oh, no, no. Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good spirit, your nature intercedes me and pities me. Assure me that I am yet may change these shadows you have shown me by the altered life.
The spirit's hand trembled.
I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writings of that stone.
Scrooge saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled back into a bedpost. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, to make amends in.
Oh, I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and this Christmas time be praised for this. Oh, my bed curtains are not torn down. They are not torn down, rings and all. They are here. I am here. The shadows of the things that would have been may be dispelled. They will be. I know they will. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm lighter than a feather. I am happy as an angel. Oh, I am as merry as a schoolboy. I am as giddy as a drunken man. Oh, a Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world.
Old Scrooge surveyed his old room with new eyes.
Oh, there's the saucepan that the gruel was in. Oh, and there's the door by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered. Oh, there's the corner where the ghost of Christmas present sat. Oh, and there's the window where I saw the wandering spirits. It's all right. It's all true. It all happened.
Really, for a man who had been out of practice for so many years, it was a splendid laugh, a most illustrious laugh, the father of a long, long line of brilliant laughs. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head.
What's today? Yo, boy, what day is it?
Today is Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day? I haven't missed it. Oh, the spirits have done it all in one night. They can do anything they like. Of course they can. Of course they can. Hello, my young fellow. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that is still hanging there?
I hope I do.
Not the little prize turkey, the big one.
What the biggest of me?
Oh, an intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Go and buy it.
Go on now.
Tell them to bring it here, and I will give them the directions to where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes. I'll give you half a crown.
I have your half crown.
I'll send it to Bob Cratchit. He shan't know who sent it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim.
Old Scrooge sent the boy and bird in a cab to the Cratchits in Camden. Then he dressed himself, all in his best, and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth, as he had seen them with the ghost of Christmas present, and walking with his hands behind him, Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, sir. A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the blithe sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest in his ears. He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before and said, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe?"
Oh, my dear sir, how do you do? I hope you succeeded yesterday. It was very kind of you. A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and I will have the goodness.
Lord bless me, my dear Mr. Scrooge. Are you serious?
If you please, not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, and I assure you, you will do me that favor.
Oh, my dearest sir, I don't know what to say. Such magnificent...
Don't say anything, please. Come and see me. Will you come and see me?
Oh, I will.
Oh, thank you, and I'm much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you.
Scrooge went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and looked down into the kitchen of houses and up to the windows and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock, but he made a dash and did it.
Is your master at home, my dear?
Yes, sir.
Where is he, my love?
He's in the dining room, sir, along with mistress. I'll show you upstairs if you please.
Oh, thank you. He knows me. I'll go in there, my dear. Fred!
Oh, my.
Why, bless my soul. Who's that?
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?
Let him in. It is a mercy Fred didn't shake his uncle's arm off. Scrooge was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. His niece looked just the same. So did Topper when he came. So did Cecilia when she came. So did everyone when they came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. But Scrooge was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was early there. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. Yep. No, Bob, a quarter past. No, Bob, he was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. Scrooge sat with his door wide open, that he might see him enter. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock.
Hello. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
I am very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are? Yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir.
Now, I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer, and therefore I am about to raise your salary. A Merry Christmas, Bob. Oh, a merrier Christmas than I have ever given to you before. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Oh, Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend as any good master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. It was always said of Ebenezer Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone.